Quite a few years ago, one of our Israeli soldiers got lost in his car, ended up by mistake in the Palestinian town of Jenin. He arrived to a place close to where a Palestinian had been accidentally killed by the Israeli army not long before. Things were heated, and local Palestinians started crowding around the soldier and tried to kill him. But a Palestinian police officer got involved. He managed to pull him out and save him. And when the incident was over, that Palestinian officer called me up. He told me that he had done it for me because a year before I'd driven his brother to Rambam Hospital for treatment.
This is Yuval Roth. He volunteers every day to pick up sick Palestinians in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip who are undergoing medical treatment in Israeli hospitals. His job is to drive them to and from the crossings into Israel.
Right now, we're at the Rayhan checkpoint on the border of the West Bank in Israel. Every morning, you can see tons of Palestinian workers making their way into Israel to go to work. Our job's to pick up the sick. Now, these are people who need to get to Israeli hospitals to receive life-saving treatment. But in the past, there's some who had to give up on getting that treatment because they had no way of getting there. These taxis you see here, they're waiting to mainly pick people up and take them to work. But if the sick Palestinians need to pay for these taxis, they'd go bankrupt. Many of them have to come in for treatment every day, back and forth. That could be hundreds of dollars.
Yuval is the founder of the Road to Recovery, an organization that's trying to promote peace between Palestinians and Israelis. But there's no therapy or program involved. The key here is just getting both sides in the car together to save lives.
Right now, I'm driving an 8-year-old girl with her parents. She has a genetic disease. It's the first time I've met them. I haven't taken them to the hospital before.
My daughter needs constant treatment for her weak immune system, and we are praying for a cure.
We mostly drive children who have serious diseases. To be able to get access to health care in Israel, they have to either require life-saving treatment or have a condition that the Palestinian Authority doesn't have the resources or facilities to actually treat.
Today, the Road to Recovery has over 900 volunteers who drive over 150 Palestinians back and forth each day. Since 2010, drivers have provided hundreds of thousands of hospital trips, and all of their expenses have been reimbursed through donations. But the story behind this organization goes back all the way to 1993.
The Oslo Accords had just been signed. I was in a sort of state of euphoria because I believed we were close to peace. My happiness exploded in my face just a month later. In October, my brother Udi left for Army Reserve duty. On one of his days off, he hitched a ride home with 3 men who were disguised as religious Jews. It turns out they were Hamas members. They kidnapped and murdered him. It was like the world had ended for our family. You don't know how to go on. And I was searching for some way to heal the trauma. I joined this organization called the Parents Circle, an Israeli-Palestinian forum for bereaved families. We'd sit together and mourn. And about 13 years ago, a Palestinian member of the group asked me if I'd drive his sick brother from a checkpoint to his treatment at an Israeli hospital. Of course, I said yes. And then after that, all of a sudden, my number started getting passed around between sick Palestinians. And I realized I couldn't drive everybody, so I started getting a group of volunteers together.
This is Naim Al-Baeda. He's responsible for coordinating all of the Road to Recovery's activity on the Palestinian side of the border. He's from a small Palestinian village in the West Bank, and he first heard about the organization when he was searching for a way to get his niece's baby to the hospital in Israel.
After a volunteer took them to the hospital for the first time, my niece came back to tell me about the experience. Just a week before, Israeli soldiers had burst into her house searching for her brother-in-law to arrest him. It was a violent mess, but when she came back from this beautiful experience with Road to Recovery, all of her hatred had vanished. From there, she started pushing me to coordinate even more drives for other sick families. And today, I'm coordinating the organization's activities in the entire West Bank.
We've just arrived to Tel Shamil Hospital in central Israel, dropped off this Palestinian family, and now we've met with another volunteer. He picked up this Palestinian patient named Zanadin from a checkpoint near Hebron in the West Bank, and he brought him here so that Yuval can take Zanadin to a different hospital in the north.
I have a serious skin condition that requires me to get treatment at an Israeli hospital at least 3 times a week. The first time I got driven by an Israeli volunteer, I wasn't scared, but I felt strange to have a Jewish person taking me from the checkpoint to the hospital.
I know sick people that were scared the first time they came to drive with us.
Yes.
Of course, because what they know up till now is soldiers. Why would a Jew come to help me? What's happening? This must be a trap.
There are sick people that think this.
Yes, they think there must be something going on here, a catch. But after we meet, all those thoughts go away.
The problem isn't the Israeli people or the Palestinian people. The problem is with our leadership from both sides.
Before we drop Zanadin off, we're picking up a Palestinian mother and her 16-year-old son. He has cancer and also needs dialysis treatment at the same hospital as Zanadin.
For 5 years, we've been going with Yuval and other volunteers to get treatment for my son. This is not just a journey from the West Bank to an Israeli hospital. It's a human journey. When they see Muhammad and I feel like they want to hug us, not just drive us back and forth. I'm really thankful.
It's 9 a.m. We're finally arriving to our second hospital of the day. That's Rambam in Haifa, northern Israel.
For me, Road to Recovery, it's an opportunity for Israelis and Palestinians to get to know one another. You know, driving together for so long brings you close together. It breaks taboos, it melts your fears. I like to call it a small hour of peace. And since we're driving together every day, we're making lots of hours of peace.